Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. No, your eyes and ears do not deceive you. This is not Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. We are going to fill in for the guys today through next Wednesday as they are getting their usual, post-Super Bowl time off, well-deserved after what was a long football season.
Yep, so we're here until next Wednesday. Looking forward to an extra hour to spend with you. Looking forward to our guests that we'll have today and throughout the rest of the week. And a lot to get to, despite the fact that we have the All-Star break coming up here in the National Basketball Association. Olympics are going on. College basketball, of course, hot and heavy, so plenty to discuss over the next week with you guys.
And still a pretty loaded card in the NBA today that, of course, we will get into. Plenty
Really
of PGA action as well. You mentioned the guests. Mike Palm still in his usual spot here a little bit later on, beginning at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. We'll also have Jim Root covering some college hoops with us of Three-Man Weave and BasketUnderReview.com. Dive into a handful of really interesting games in college basketball today. And actually, let's start in some college hoops here because it has been upset city the last couple days. And last night, it continued once again. Purdue beats number 7 Nebraska. And it looked like Purdue was going to win the blowout, by the way, but we can react more to that game in a moment. TCU cashes as a 3-1 moneyline dog, upsetting number 5 ranked Iowa State. Wisconsin upsets number 8 ranked Illinois. And Miami, although it's not an upset, they closed a 1.5-point favorite. But considering North Carolina moved up in the AP polls to number 11, they get dogged as well.
Yeah, Miami, the classic letdown spot for North Carolina. We talked about this yesterday on our usual show, which was Money Moves with Wes Reynolds, where you beat Duke, you have to go, and then you take on a Miami team who has some good signs and good qualities about the way that its team is built. And sure enough, you get caught slipping. These are college kids. These road spots are a little bit more tricky when you go out there, as opposed to professionals who are kind of used to the rigmarole of going out, getting on planes, doing all of that. The intensity of the crowd as well kind of gets to you too. So classic letdown. Market was all over it too. You mentioned the flip. When we were talking about it, it was North Carolina as a 1.5-point favorite. Flips over to Miami. Market gets it right. Situational bettors rejoice as the Hurricanes get it done. And you mentioned Iowa State. An abysmal shooting performance yesterday from Iowa State. 5 of 28. 3 from beyond the arc. They were awful. An offensive rating of 80.5. in that game, according to Ken Palm. That's not good. If you're wondering at home, you want at least I shouldn't say at least. You want over 1 at the very least, and that was an abysmal performance. You could kind of maybe chalk it up to, hey, look, this is going to happen. Offense is hard, and when you go on the road, it'll maybe spring up on you where you're going to have an inefficient performance, but TCU gets it done with their own poor offensive performance despite that. Less than a point per possession for both teams in this game.
Yes, 62-55 the final there. You see plus 270 on your graphic, as high as 3-1 out there in the market. And then I want to go to this Purdue-Nebraska game because that was kind of the marquee game of the day where you have 2 top 15 teams going head-to-head. It looked like Purdue was going to just blow them out here. They were up 21 with 13:45 left in the game, still up 12 with about 2:40 to go. Nebraska forces this thing to overtime. Purdue ends up holding on, but that was just a ridiculous back and forth game late.
It was, and I think big picture for Purdue, you were thinking for a while, like, okay, if they're going to blow this here, you're talking about you lose those 3 straight games, then you get back on track against Maryland and Oregon. Not really great shakes there. Those are 2 teams that are ranked 102nd and longer in Ken Palm rankings. So if you blow this and all of a sudden you've lost 4 out of the last 6, all against top 40 Ken Palm teams, you got some real questions as to what's the legitimacy of this Purdue team as we get closer to the NCAA tournament. But they hold on a little bit. Nebraska, on the other hand, they're now stuck, held in the short end of the stick. They've lost 3 out of 4 games. And you have to question, I think, with Nebraska, who got off to such a good start, and so much of it, Stormy, was their first shot offense and how great they were, if there is a little bit of an expiration date here against some of these big boys. Because their last 3 losses, of course, top 10 programs in Michigan, Illinois, and then Purdue.
Also not an upset, but just happy for BYU to finally stop the bleeding after losing 4 straight and 5 of the last 6. It wasn't pretty, but they get the win and cover at Baylor last night. So there's that. Also, we mentioned we're going to get into some Olympic talk a little bit later and throughout the course of the next week. We do have the start of the men's Olympic hockey today. Team USA will be on deck tomorrow, but one game in action right now, actually, Italy and Sweden. Italy, a 40-1 money line dog in this game. They scored first today. Right, so you're thinking, oh my gosh, could we actually have an interesting game here? The answer appears to be no. So we're in the first intermission right now, about to start the second period as we get this underway. It's a 2-1 game right now, but look on your screen, JVT. Look at the shots that we have. Sweden out shooting Italy 27-3 in the first period. It is ridiculous.
Sweden's out shooting them?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm going to have to...
They're laying, I think,
I'm looking at
four and
spread
a
of
half.
4.5.
They're laying 4.5 on the live puck line. They laid 5.5 at open.
Yeah.
So it's actually a discount now.
Minus 4.5, minus 150. I'll pass. All right. I was going to try to jump in on something. It's almost like you can see what's going on, and they're setting the numbers accordingly here. I mean, this is the whole point. I mean, talked about all the time. We say it lovingly, but hockey is a stupid sport. You can sit there and dominate shot share the way that Sweden is right now, but barely be getting by because of the variance of what hockey is at this point. So I would expect that this would tell us that they're going to pull away here and be able to cover this number.
I would think so.
But minus 4.5, minus 150,
I
it's
think
a hefty price.
This could potentially I'll be interested to see what they do in the first 10 minutes here, Sweden. That is, the majority of this game has been played in Italy's end. Did they just score? Yep, so there's another one.
Okay, there you go.
3-1 now.
All right, so it's fine.
Yeah,
should have laid it.
They were driving offense like crazy. Oh, sorry, no, that was Italy.
You're killing me here.
Sorry, I was watching out the side of my eye.
I
oh my
expect
gosh,
you to know these things.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, okay, here, let's go. I'm going back in then. All right, let's go.
You're taking? Are you taking the?
We're going with the.
What do you call that in a big spread like that?
Yeah.
Taking the pucks.
You're the one that mocked me a couple of weeks ago because I called them one-score games and not one-goal games. As is pointed out by our producer in our ear, by the way, do I want the more efficient team in Italy?
Oh yes,
who is
2
doing
goals
much,
on 4 shots.
Who's doing
Look
much
at them go.
more with their shots on goal than than their opponent today. That's actually, you got to think about that too. That is relatively poor goaltending here that Italy is facing.
Sure.
To get 2 shots, or should we to get 2 goals on less than 10 shots is ridiculous.
Speaking of poor goaltending, the first game of the day, Finland and Slovakia. I told you I liked the Finns. And for Group B, not a great start. They lose 4-1. UC Saros was brutal. But speaking of like the crazy shot share numbers, Finland outshot Slovakia like 18-5 in the first period. They end up losing that thing 4-1. 39-25 shot differential in general. But the Slovakia goalie just wasn't letting anything through.
Man, this is still getting. I mean, you talk about the difference between these two teams from a power rating standpoint. 2-2 here, and I get we know what's going on. We're talking 4.5 still the spread, plus 125 though if you want to lay it with Sweden. And if you look at the 3-way regular time, Sweden minus 10,000, tie is 15-1, and then Italy is 50-1.
But I told you earlier before we opened the show, like sometimes in group play, weird stuff does happen.
Sure.
You don't expect a 40-1 shot money line to end up coming through a winning game. But it's tie game right now, early in the second period. We'll see how this plays out. But weird things, weird upsets do happen. I think even earlier this morning, though, with Slovakia getting the win as a plus 320 dog against Finland is an example of that. That's one of the reasons why I like Czechia tomorrow against Canada, which I talked about that yesterday on Money Moves, but we can discuss that further a little bit later on today. I know Mike Palm will want to get into some hockey as well, but even though the NFL season is officially in the rearview mirror, we still have news coming into the National Football League, and yesterday, right here in Vegas, the Raiders made it officially official, introducing Clint Kubiak as their new head coach. He had this to say on the podium about the new digs.
You know, guys, I got all these notes prepared, and I've never been really good at that. The main thing is this is no ordinary job. You know, this is the silver and black. This is the Raiders. This is a historic franchise. So, you know, when the opportunity came up to stay in Seattle and continue there, or to have a chance to come here and compete with this organization, it was a no-brainer. You know, I grew up obviously watching a lot of Broncos football. All right, going against the Raiders twice a year, and the grit of this franchise sticks out. You know, when you hear the autumn wind as a Raider, you know, I can hear that in my mind growing up, you know, watching NFL films and seeing these guys next to me play, you know, seeing Howie Long and Jim Plunkett. You know, it's pretty powerful to be sitting up here with you guys. And I just want you to know that, you know, those values that you guys played with, that's what we're going to play with.
You obviously have covered this team very closely over the years, and it has been, I feel like, rough coaching hire after rough coaching hire in terms of the culture set. What do you think about Clint Kubiak initially, and what you think he might be able to do for this group?
I mean, my favorite phrase that I've heard when it comes to coaching, and I can't remember who initially said this, but it's one of the best ones. I think it's a good hire. I have no idea how it'll work out. You know, it's just, you have no idea what this does in terms of how he runs a or how he runs a locker room, how they respond to him, how he delivers criticism. I think it's actually important. We're going to play it right now about how he was learning under Mike McDonald and the way that worked. And sometimes when you try to criticize people, because it's a good thing to be able to take criticism and to be able to deliver it in a proper way. But if you don't do it the right way, then all of a sudden everything kind of falls apart and you're just not a good manager of people. So we'll see how he works out. But I do think, I've said 1,000 times and I'll say one more time, the Raiders are showing signs of being a progressive football club right now. And I think that's a very good sign for the future of the franchise. They did say that they wanted Max Crosby back, but I think you say all the right things at the initial press conference. We'll see if he actually ends up there. But they're making the right choices, and the first of which was playing for the first overall pick. The second now is getting the younger, forward-thinking offensive mind to lead your team.
Yeah, Kubiak had a cup of coffee with him, he said, with Max Crosby already in the building. He said he was the first guy in the building today. Love to see it.
Cup of coffee. That's important. Yeah.
Well, I asked the question. I put that in the rundown. Like, are we sure Max Crosby is? I mean, all of the reports have said it, but you see ownership, you see Kubiak, like bringing the mention. Are you just trying to say the right things?
I mean, yes, you're trying to say the right things. And let us be completely clear here. The report last week while I was in San Francisco, in which Jay Glazer on his own, we'll put in quotes, said that Max Crosby was done with the team. He got that from one person and one person only. So let's not act like this is something where Jay Glazer decided to go run amok in San Francisco and make some stuff up for no reason whatsoever. I don't think Max Crosby wants to be there, and I would say that it's a small favorite that he is not a Raider next year still.
Meanwhile, they are a long shot in the division in the AFC West next year, 25-1. I think second or third longest long shot that there is in the league.
I mean, you could see kind of the outline, I think. As somebody who is pessimistic when it comes to the Raiders quite a bit, you invest in free agency in the offensive line to get some proven talent. You go and you steal Rashid Shaheed in free agency. All of a sudden, or maybe another piece that's out there, all of a sudden you're kind of looking at a team that offensively, Stormy, if Fernando Mendoza can thrive in this offensive system, can be, I think, a somewhat formidable team on a week-to-week basis and steal a few wins.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza, by the way, minus 8,000 to be the number one overall pick in the upcoming April draft. You mentioned Mike McDonald, the Seahawks having some fun at their Super Bowl parade today. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But to the NBA, we go next. A loaded card today in the penultimate day before the All-Star break.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We are keeping tabs on some of the early hockey in the Olympics as the men's slate of games got underway today. The shots, JVT, in favor of the minus 500-1 favorite Sweden, 31-4 right now. Yeah. Yet it's a tie game with the home country Italians 2-2 early in the second period. The locals are loving it. Anyone who laid 5.5 with Sweden, probably not so much.
Our camera is perfectly placed where I cannot see the box score at the top. So you'll have to keep track of it.
It's not there right now, so that's good.
Well, I know that. I was just going to say, you'll have to keep track of it for me, as I will not be able to see what is going on in terms of the shots on goal. So, man, I kind of hope this stays 2-2 for a while. We get in on a somewhat cheaper price on the favorite here, but we'll see.
We'll stay true to the live updates as we go here, as we welcome you back to Follow the Money. Stormy Buonantony, JVT in for the guys. And let's get into what is one of your many specialties in the National Basketball Association. 2 days left before the All-Star break. And before we look ahead to today's 14-game card, you're giving me a little bit of grief yesterday about talking about the Pacers-Knicks game. Eastern Conference Final rematch could be a good one tonight. 12.5-point dogs, yet they win.
I mean, in fairness, that was on our rundown, like our rundown to start the show. It's the three biggest things we're going to talk about today. And, you know, the 12-point spread probably shouldn't be one of the biggest ones.
Maybe not the sexiest thing on paper, but did it work out?
It did. Despite a furious rally from the New York Knicks to end the game to potentially try to get back into this thing and win it in overtime, Indiana Pacers hold out, get the win as a big underdog. And we talked about this yesterday. You know, give Indiana credit. This is obviously a gap year. It's a year that has not gone well for them. There is some thought of, hey, do they kind of push up the standings to try to actually get the pick protection for the back end of the protections they sent off to the Los Angeles Clippers so they can ship this pick off and do something with it? We don't know what they're going to do here. But they have shown out in some of these big spots. The Knicks here, the Knicks again, the previous matchup in which the Knicks needed some late magic. They have really fought hard with the Oklahoma City Thunder in the times that they have played them so far this year as well. So they're a well-coached team, and they're a team that's got some pride. And I think that does matter when you're handicapping some of these spots. We had mentioned that maybe this is going to be one where they can just stay inside of the number by sheer force of will, and that seemed to be the case yesterday.
Felt like watching it, though, with the way that the Knicks rallied late, to your point, and then going to overtime. We always say that's where dogs go to die. But the fact that they still pulled it out, win this thing outright, 137-134 in OT. 39 lead changes were the most we've seen in an NBA game this year, and the fifth most since 1998. So there you have it.
It was a really good game.
Looking to tonight, both of those teams in action, the Knicks at the 76ers, Pacers at Nets. Which one of those, or either one of those, particularly interest you tonight?
I got priced out really quickly. Indiana at Brooklyn. Brooklyn's up to a 6.5-point favorite, total 215.5. You talk about bad spots. Second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, coming off of an emotional overtime victory against your foe, who you beat in the Eastern Conference Finals in the postseason. Then you got to go to lowly Brooklyn to see what gets this done. The problem is, and we'll see how this looks for Indiana, because this number's really high.
From
6.5.
From 3 out to 6.5 this morning.
But we do know that there is going to be some rest being had here by the Indiana Pacers. Pascal Siakam's out, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard. The list goes on of guys who are not going to play here today. Jarris Walker has an illness. He is questionable to play at best. Obviously, again, to reiterate for maybe those who did not miss it, Ivica Zubac done through the All-Star break. We'll see him potentially come back later. I had to make people happy, too. There's videos of Ivica Zubac and Tyrese Halliburton kind of doing the thing where they're looking at the floor and examining it and talking to each other about how it would go, though they're going to be a very good duo. I think Indiana should be the favorite to win the East next year. They're going to be awesome. Either way, Nets situationally 100% are the side. I think you've been priced out at this point, though. So we'll see if this gets back down. My playable number would be like 4.5, but I don't think you're going to get back down there at this point today.
Okay, that's one, as I mentioned, of 14 games that we have on the card today. It's the last day of a lot of action, a full card, just 3 games tomorrow.
We'll go over every one of them today.
We will. Will we?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm ready.
I don't know if you do on everything.
I mean, you got 3 hours. Let's go.
The one I really want to talk about today is, I guess there is a couple of games, but involving the Charlotte Hornets and the Detroit Pistons following the scuffle, fight, whatever you want to call it, the other night. The NBA suspensions have come down for that. The Pistons, Isaiah Stewart getting 7 games, Jalen Duren 2 games, Miles Bridges and Moussa Diabate both getting 4. So in the short term, how does that impact your view of both of these teams?
I mean, I think it hurts them, obviously. So the thing that has gone well for Charlotte has obviously been this lineup that they have. If we start there, when you talk about LaMelo Ball, Con Knippel, Brandon Miller, Moussa Diabate, and Miles Bridges, those 5 together have been the most efficient lineup in the association when you account for possessions played. And so now that 2 of them are not going to be out there, that is a very big blow for you. Those 5 together, just to put some context to it, have outscored opponents by 30 points every 100 possessions, 30. An offensive rating of 139.7 with those 5 out on the floor. So that, of course, means 139.7 points every 100 possessions. But 2 of those pieces are gone. And I think that matters here. And if you bring in the power rating aspect of this, so if you look at the number earlier, I was on with Matt Brown and Kelly Bidlin earlier today on a numbers game, even with these suspensions, they were 4.5-point favorites earlier today, Stormy. I mean, that's a number that was translating to what they were looking at over the weekend when they were 1.5-point favorites on the road against Atlanta. This just seems like a number that is really high considering the absences in the starting lineup for Charlotte. They're already at the top of the market from a power rating standpoint, and now you get this. We'll see. 2 big questionables for Atlanta, though, that you really want in there. I took a little bit of a gamble taking them early, but you want Jalen Johnson. You want Dyson Daniels, the great barrier thief. If one of the 2 is going to play, you're in a pretty good spot, but you'd obviously rather have both, so we'll see if they're going to play today.
Did it surprise you that it took so long this morning to finally get that information? Like, the Hornets had shoot-around this morning, and everybody's out there wondering who's in, who's out tonight.
I was looking for it, and it wasn't coming down, and then later when I saw the rundown, you put it in there, I was like, oh, okay, it finally came down at some point, but I was surprised that we didn't get it a little bit quicker here. And we had talked about this yesterday, too. Not a surprise. Isaiah Stewart has many infractions against him when it comes to fighting on the court and coming off the bench. So 7 games. And that's a big blow for Detroit because that's 2 of your bigs in your rotation that aren't going to play for the very least 2 games with Duren out for 2 and then Stewart for 5 more after.
Utah, a 5.5, 6-point favorite, depending on where you're looking, against the Sacramento Kings today. And speaking of news items, the Jazz have been very much so in the news this week, created some uproar for what feels like or looks like blatant tanking, taking out.
Feels like it looks like it is.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. You're benching guys like Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. late in close games, pulling them in the fourth quarter, all those things. And we have seen nationally a lot of people talking about this, including Bobby Marks, who went off on ESPN's NBA Today yesterday, talking about it messing with the integrity of the NBA.
I think what Utah is doing right now is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. With the ability to sit players, starters, in the fourth quarter, to not call timeouts in the fourth quarter. Orlando won the game on Saturday because they basically rested players. And it backfired on them last night. So I think if you're the league, you're looking at it. All right, can we do some gimmicks? Can we alter protections and eliminate protections as far as picks? Or can we put the hammer down?
I mean, you got to, first off, putting the hammer down, we'll see what that actually means. But Adam Silver has been notoriously light-handed when it comes to punishments for players for more serious infractions. And now with teams doing this, I mean, who in the world knows what he's going to actually try to do here? But making changes to the system is obviously going to be, it's going to be what you have to do, which is going to be pretty interesting. One of the ideas that has been thrown out there is after a certain date, in terms of your standing in the lottery, your wins become losses and your losses become wins. So in other words, for every win you get post a certain date, then your draft standing would improve. Versus every loss you take, then that would be like a win, and then you go up the draft lottery.
I saw another thing that was pitched was like an NBA Cup-like tournament, but for teams that were in the framework for that role.
The problem with something like that is the NBA Cup has actually worked from a playing standpoint. If you actually watch them, like they care, there's intensity.
You don't think people would be interested in that?
Oh, I think people would be interested. But Stormy, okay, tomorrow you and I have to host the best show on the planet, okay? And the reward is VSiN gets one of the best up-and-coming hosts to replace us. You know what I mean? Like, what's the inspiration there? What am I going out and fighting for every single time? Why would I care as a player? Like, cool, I'm going to get
I guess I don't really think about it from the player standpoint. From an organizational standpoint, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, from the organizational standpoint, it makes a ton of sense. But if you're a player on the court, you're like, boys, I need a new small forward, and we got to go, and we got to win this game. Like, that's to me is one where I don't know, unless you also include some sort of added compensation like you do in the NBA Cup. I have no idea why a player would be more motivated to potentially play and then the team find his replacement.
Well, since obviously no change is going to be made immediately, what does this mean for us in terms of approaching Utah Jazz games down the stretch? Because I bet on first half today. Okay.
So I laid 3.5 with them in the first half. Numbers come down a little bit. It's 3 or in some spots. Still 3.5's out there too, and it's 5.5 right now for the game. I can understand going against them for the game, but I think there's a couple of things. First off, Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. are going to play today, so that should help them out. That's a really good duo that fits really well together from a basketball perspective. And the total non-data point here, by the way, no Keontae George tonight, but the total non-data point, all we've heard for the last 48, what am I? I'm going to expose myself here. I don't want. How many hours is 3 days? 72 hours? Yeah. Okay. 72 hours to 48 hours has been how much this team has been tanking, how they are frauds, how this is a ridiculous blight upon the league. Part of me thinks that you're going to get a really good effort to start this game here today.
And you wonder why I couldn't totally trust you on the Nikola Jokic games missed.
48 to 72
MVP.
doing that. 48 plus 24 is harder than 16 minus 15.
JVT and I typically host Money Moves together before Follow the Money comes on, and we have had that brought up multiple times. Okay, we got to step aside here on Follow the Money. Don't go anywhere. More coming up on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So I've been thinking about this during the commercial break as we're watching, and I'm sorry, Italy and
Sweden.
Sweden, thank you very much. It's already escaping my mind. Italy and hockey don't necessarily jive to me, okay? Like, I don't think of hockey when I think of Italians. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And so I was just wondering, because then it comes to mind Cool Runnings and the Jamaican bobsled team. What is the country sport mix that you just that does not work the most? You get it so much in the Olympics now. And obviously it's like Winter Olympic and then tropical climate. That's probably the one that you'll get, or vice versa. So just a food for thought. I was just curious. I had to think about it a little bit.
That's
Just wanted to get it out there.
If you have any things that comes to mind, tweet at us at MeJVT at Storm Buonantony. I need to simmer on that one for a little bit because we were talking about. I asked you the other day if you had watched the opening ceremonies at all, and I was like, it was kind of funny to see, like for that example, Jamaica come out with their 6 participants.
Like I would assume Greece doesn't have like a strong youth hockey program going on.
Okay, that's
right. That's my assumption, but who knows? Just a thought.
Something we talked about yesterday that just for this audience, if there was one Olympic sport that you would want to try most, you said yours was the ski jumping, right?
Oh yeah, like the big one, yes. Without the injecting of fluids into your groin, yeah.
Again, just for measurements. It's not for the actual jump.
Sure, yeah.
It's all about the uniform fitting properly to
Oh,
give you
that's it then.
the aerodynamics.
That's
However,
it
I still just think that like the biathlon is crazy, where you have the cross country ski and then with the shooting. But all those things, cross country skiing in general, is just like a little bit psychotic to me. You have to have a very special personality to do something like that.
It's got to be quite the brag to walk in for your suit fitting and be like, I don't need it.
Yeah, you're the worst. Last segment, we were breaking down NBA. We'll continue to do so here. And we ended off talking about the Utah Jazz and everything that's going on in their like tankathon of sorts. Safe to say Bill Simmons is not very pleased with what's going on with that situation or the state of the league under Adam Silver's leadership. Listen to this.
To me, there's like huge fundamental issues with the league that they're just yada-yadaing and pointing to all the media money they've made and the fact that their players are famous and that everybody loves the playoffs. It's like the regular season has real issues. It's too long. Guys are getting hurt too much. Everybody is making so much money. The only reason to have 82 games is because you make money from it. You go down to 70, you make less money. Guess what? Devin Booker, instead of making $75 million in 2028, he'll make 73. He'll be fine. All this everything they're doing, they're not serving the larger picture of what do fans want? How do we keep our players healthy? How do we have a competitive season from start to finish? How do we avoid over 1/4 of our league not giving a shit for the last 2 months? How do we fix this? And it's the first time I've really wondered, do we have the right guy running the league? Because he doesn't seem interested in actually fixing real problems that everybody can see. And it's not about look at the NBA Cup. Oh, we created this thing. It's like, your schedule's too long. You have to fix this. It's too long. It should be 70 games.
I mean, do you agree with that? Do you think he's maybe too player friendly as a commissioner?
I mean, I think so. That's been the case. I just think I would tie this into the gambling issues that the league has finally found itself mixed in once again when it comes to Terry Rozier as well, where it's just your league is already being questioned from an integrity standpoint now, once again. It has always kind of been there when you go back to Tim Donaghy, the fact that you kept on some of the officials who were in contact with him as well, including, of course, Scott Foster. And who knows what those connections are, what those calls were. But the whole point is there's always been that undercurrent of questioning integrity. Then you get Terry Rozier again, and then you get these teams blatantly tanking out some of these games. It's something that you as a league should address. And yes, I think all the points are valid. I mean, the schedule should be cut down. And when you're partnering with these sports betting companies and taking in all of their money, and yet you're allowing your teams to do this, you should button this up. This should matter. That not only were people buying tickets for those games, in which the Jazz were taking guys out in the fourth quarter, people were wagering on those games. Not with the assumption that the Utah Jazz would then take their guys out to lose the game on purpose in the middle of the fourth quarter. So I think there's a lot of issues that he has to deal with at this point right now. Do I think that he is a strong enough commissioner to actually do it? No, there's been no evidence to suggest that would be the case at this point. So I think all of this matters. And do we even open the can of worms of Giannis, the saga of will he, won't he be traded? Does he want to go? And then the second the trade deadline's over, he's like, I'm an investor in a prediction market. It's absolutely ridiculous on its surface, and Silver should do something about it. But will he is the real question.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of these issues have been persisting for a long time, and I feel like perhaps the longer you go without actually addressing or fixing or tweaking anything, it's just going to get worse, and more of these questions are going to continue to be asked. Colin Murphy actually chiming in on X as it relates to the Jazz and said Utah's been nails in the second quarter since the deadline. Also an interesting angle. You can bet the highest scoring quarter in the game to be the first or second, both around 2-1. So a couple different angles potentially if you're looking to
see if that cashes tonight,
to approach the Jazz in different ways if they're not going to play their guys in the fourth quarter. Another game of interest tonight. The Spurs and Golden State Warriors going head-to-head tonight. First half of the back-to-back for San Antonio yesterday. Blowout win over the Lakers. Victor Wembanyama is insane. 40 points in 26 minutes. Despite the rest disadvantage for the team, Wemby didn't really play all that much, so maybe this could be another opportunity on San Antonio, and people certainly seem to think that way in the market. Bet up from 5.5 to 7.5 point favorites now. Total also up from 217.5 to 220.5. No Steph Curry, obviously, for Golden State either here. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, we're waiting for, let me double check. Okay, so this just came down. So Stephon Castle is questionable to play today. So that's going to be the one that you'll have to keep an eye on for the San Antonio Spurs. But other than that, everybody's available at this point right now. For Golden State, you mentioned, I mean, this is a long list of guys who are not going to potentially be out there. We'll see if DeAnthony Melton can play. He's questionable. This is another one where you got priced out pretty quick if you weren't paying attention. San Antonio overnight 5.5 up to 7.5. Probably a pretty similar situation to last night, Stormy, where we kind of talked about it. And the Lakers have this tendency to, hey, we get smoked by the good teams and then we can kind of beat the bad teams. And that was an instance yesterday. And I think Golden State's going to be in a position here again where San Antonio is going to want to come out there and put it on them. I have not been the biggest fan of Golden State post Jimmy Butler injury. And now, of course, without Curry out there, then you're talking about a team that really struggles for offensive creation. They've been up and down. They've got a couple of wins. But if you zoom out a little bit here, they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games. They're 2-6 against the spread in their last 8. Have not been covering consistently. Not a team that I think is worth backing at this point right now. And from a defensive standpoint, San Antonio should be able to, I think, strangle this team alive tonight.
Your Clippers, second half of a back-to-back as well, also against Houston
What a
after
cover
losing
last night, huh?
102-95. Yes, and we'll talk about that again and win some, lose some. But considering the position they were in the fourth quarter to actually cover that number, pretty wild.
Ty Washington with a 3 to get you inside of the number. Hell yeah, brother. That's what we do. Very exciting yesterday. So it's interesting because the second legs of back-to-backs, especially when you get the baseball series, you tend to kind of look at the team that failed to cover, so that would put you in the camp of the Houston Rockets against the Los Angeles Clippers. We've talked about it. Yesterday, they didn't really give you what you wanted in terms of a really big effort. Today, for the Rockets, Tari Easton, the questionable. Alperen Sengun popped up on the injury report, but he's probable, so you expect him out there. Kawhi Leonard's going to play again. So second leg of back-to-back, Kawhi Leonard not in the injury report. He will be out there. The only name of note, Nicholas Batum is going to rest here for L.A., but if Kawhi's out there, you got a chance. And I know the trend would tell you that you can come out here and play against the team that covered the first of a baseball set in basketball, but I'd lean again toward L.A. I think they're getting a little bit cut down from a power rating standpoint, and I think we've gone a little too far. I'll reiterate, that first game that they played when it was the Cleveland Cavaliers going out there, that was tough. Your rotation gets broken up immediately. Harden's gone. Now you're getting used to playing without him. And Cleveland was a different animal. We've talked about them, how improved they've been, how much better they've been. This is one where you still have a half-court offense that is struggling for the Houston Rockets, an offense in general that is struggling to find its flow. And I think the Clippers could really stay inside here with a better night. I mean, even look at last night, Stormy. Rockets, offensive rating of 110.9. And outside of their three-point shooting, which was good, they shot 50% from three in non-garbage time. I think you're going to be able to stay inside of this number if you're LA.
That's kind of a weird schedule spot, no? Back-to-back games, both in the same place, right before the All-Star break?
Yeah, they don't happen too much. To your point, I hope, or I wish they would do these more. I like the baseball series. Yeah. I like watching the two teams, the mini series to go up against each other for consecutive nights to see what's going on. So I'm a fan of the way that this is set up. But yes, it is somewhat rare to not only have them play each other, but back-to-back days and right before the All-Star break before you head out.
We'll get to more NBA a little bit later, but last minute here, any other game you want to make sure that we hit quickly?
Let's see. We hit all the important ones. I guess Oklahoma City and Houston is going to be a pretty fast, or excuse me, Oklahoma City, Phoenix. Oklahoma City's up to an 8.5 point favorite. Total's 214.5. For Phoenix here today, still no Grayson Allen, but the big one's going to be Devin Booker is questionable, and the slightly less bigger one is going to be Jalen Green status. He is questionable to play as well, but still no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and still no A.J. Mitchell, but the rest of the team is whole and intact. Seems like a big number if you can get some information before the books do that Devin Booker is going to be out there. Thinks he gives them a little bit more of a fighting chance, but I'll be interested to see if Booker plays and if he does, where this number gets to and what this looks like tonight.
Okay, clock winding down here in the second period between the Swedes and Italians. Sweden did end up scoring this period, so they're up 3-2, out shooting Italy right now.
Wild.
42-11. A little bit of a scuffle on the ice right now. Look like a near fight, a little bit of shoving, but doesn't look like much will happen. That is one chance change with the Olympic rules versus typical NHL. Apparently, these officials are going to be much bigger sticklers on fighting. Good to note there. 38 seconds left here in the period as we step aside. Win some, lose some on Follow the Money coming up next.
Win Some, Lose Some is sponsored by the Sharp Plays.
Were you a winner last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Molly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Mitch and Pauly out on vacation. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel in with you. Let's start with win some in college hoops. We talked about it already. The Tar Heels in a pretty clear letdown spot yesterday against Miami. We saw the Hurricanes bet up from 1.5-point dogs to 1.5-point favorites. They end up winning this thing right side 75-66. Wisconsin on the money line, plus 425 comes home at Illinois. Only twice this season has a top 10 team been upset at home by an unranked opponent. Both times the unranked opponent has been Wisconsin. TCU cashes 3-1 on the money line against Iowa State, winning 62-55. BYU bet out from 2 to 3.5-point favorites at Baylor. Finally stopped the bleeding after 4 straight L's. AJ DeBonso was a monster, 36.7 assists, 5 boards for him. Finally, JVT.
Did they, though? Their defense stunk.
It wasn't a good game, but they won and covered. That's
their
what
defense
we need.
in conference play down to 13th in the Big 12 in defensive efficiency for BYU. This is a very big problem for them, and it's going to continue to be a problem. They got to fix that in a big way.
Big 12 is brutal. Tournament time is going to be tough. Meanwhile, in the NBA, the Pacers from 12.5-point dogs to 9.5 at the Knicks. They end up winning this thing straight up in overtime, 137-134. Most lead changes in any game this season. The Spurs out from 8 to 13.5-point favorites with the Lakers down all their stars. They win 136-108. Suns out from 7.5 to 8.5-point favorites against the Mavericks. They win 120-111. Dallas losing streak out to 8 games now. It's bad.
It's really bad, and it looks like the only thing that they have going for them is their young stud Cooper Flagg. 27 points, 8 of 20 from the floor, goes to 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal, and that's going to be, I think, every single night out for the Dallas Mavericks. Bad performance, great Cooper Flagg stat line, and a loss.
Let's get some patriotism in here for you. Team USA women's hockey over Canada yesterday. They were bet out from minus 195 to minus 250 favorites. They end up getting the shutout, 5-0. First time the Canadian women have been shut out on Olympic ice.
I mean, first off, you called this. You were all over this before our show yesterday. I also don't think this does it justice. I mean, you were tracking this, the regulation line, or to win in regulation, the puck line, this overall money line for the game. This got steamed up really quickly because of that injury for Canada, and there was no question about it. And Mike Palm was going to be with us in the next hour. What did he tell you in the garage?
He said minus 2.5 might not be enough, and ended up coming through. He texted me right after the game, too, a couple of American flags. He goes, never in doubt. But yes, for anyone who missed it, Marie-Philippe Poulin, who is Team Canada's...
Ripped right through it.
Thank you. I'm trying to be French now. Team Canada's heartbeat captain, all of those things. She's been coined Captain Clutch for them in the past. She wasn't out there, and I don't even think even she would have helped them, though, necessarily. In the 5 games the two countries have played since November, the Americans have outscored them 29-7. Also, not Team USA, but this thing has been making the rounds, and how could it not? The Norwegian cross-country skier with the uphill sprint. It's a 6-mile pace on skis going uphill? What are we talking about?
I mean, I've always wondered with some of these Olympic sports how it becomes a thing to the point where it is an Olympic
That's
sport.
a great point.
And where does it start? It's like, hey, you know what? I will race you hundreds of years ago. I will race you up this mountain in my skis in a run.
All I know is it made me feel extremely inferior.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, what in the world are we doing here?
I can't run a 6-minute mile flat on land
right.
in perfect conditions. What are we talking about?
10 miles an hour with the skis is absolutely nuts. I watched this 1,000 times.
All right, off to the lose some. The Rockets were bet out in the NBA from 7.5 to 9-point favorites. They're up 15 with 5 minutes left, 10 in the final minute. Win, but as you said earlier, Clippers close the gap. Houston wins, but don't cover any number. 102-95 falls right on the 7.
Ty Washington gives us a 3 to get inside of the number. That's what happens when you get some of these big bloated numbers. You can sneak right inside of the back door. I thought they were going to let go of the rope. Looked like initially there was a couple of 12-point leads for the Houston Rockets. Ultimately, they cannot get there. So I thought this was going to be a non-Clippers cover. I was getting upset. Thought I wasn't going to get there. They did.
Total in that game also didn't go in line with the market. Bet from 209.5 to 214.5 stays well under. Spurs-Lakers, meanwhile, from 228 to 225 soars over. And back to Norwegians for a lose some. You pointed this out to me yesterday. I ended up watching the full interview translated in English. The Norwegian biathlete who won bronze. And then in the post-race interview comes out and says, my ex-girlfriend might not be watching, but the perfect love of my life, I cheated on you 3 months ago. Admits to cheating on his girlfriend after he wins bronze. What?
But apparently he met the girl he cheated on. He met her six months ago. And then cheated on her 3 months late or whatever it was.
3 months in.
Yeah, 3 months in. And then, but now he knows that she's the love of his life to the point where he will cry on camera for her.
He said, I won bronze, but I had the gold medal in life. Look what I've done.
I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to say.
That's not a lose some. I don't know what it is.
It's 100% a lose some. How is that supposed to help you? And I know he said it too, like, I've committed social suicide. I mean, you definitely have, but I don't know. Even if she's not watching, he says it in there. I know she's probably not watching. Then what's the point?
Why are you doing this to yourself, man?
So I think I asked you this off the air in front of God and everybody. Would it work?
Hell no. That was like the least attractive or endearing thing. Like,
no?
What? That
Wasn't
would not.
At all?
That would not. Would you try that?
No.
Come on.
What are we talking about?
Also, this is a lose some and a win some kind of in one, where the Seattle Public Schools District announced that parade attendance for the Super Bowl parade for the Seahawks would not be an excused absence, which just feels wrong. But shout out Seattle PD, because they came in here and issued a letter to employees and teachers in the area to said, consider the absence as a, quote, excuse for greatness. So at least somebody came in the clutch here.
Can the police do that?
I don't
like,
know.
Do they have the authority?
I'm not questioning it. I like where their head's at here.
I mean, I like it, but I'm like, can you go to school? But like the cop said I could miss school yesterday.
Have you seen some of the clips coming out from this thing?
A couple. Not a lot.
And I love it for us as content people.
Sure.
The boys are sloshed.
Yeah.
They're getting after it up there. The GM on the mic.
John Schneider.
Talking about Kenneth Walker and like getting the MVP chance going, but then also saying, he tried negotiating with you a few minutes ago. It was weird. That, like, even if you're trying to be funny, that is the most awkward thing in the world. And Kenneth Walker's right behind you, like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, you're not exactly known, everybody, I would say, for making the best decisions there when you've had a couple. So I think that makes some sense that you would look a little weird up on the podium.
Also, with all the curse words and expletives flowing on the podium, maybe the best thing that the elementary school kids couldn't go to the...
Yes.
Couldn't go after all. A couple of bad beats, if you want to call it that. One, Mavs and Suns bet up from 226 to 230.5, lands 230, 3 missed shots in the last 30 seconds. They're 4-10 in the last 330. But the worst bad beat of all here, you pointed this out to me yesterday. Can you lay this out for our audience?
I can. The United Strand, I believe is his name, Frank Illette is what we're going to say here. They were sitting on 4 wins, couldn't cut his hair until Man United had ripped off 5 consecutive victories. They were sitting on 4 straight. And then yesterday, with everything on the line, Man United draws with West Ham, and he cannot cut his hair. And in fact, the counter starts over.
They had a watch party.
Yep.
They think it's finally going to happen too. The confetti is flying in the room. He's got confetti in his hair.
I was tracking it on my phone. The second they went down 1-0, I was in my car. I was like, oh my God, they're not. He's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. This is incredible. And the problem is, because you've made such a big deal about this, you can't stop. There's no way that you can come out tomorrow and be like, guys, I've decided to give up. I'm going to cut my hair.
Well, and now 24 hours later, since it has set in a bit, he posted this video on social media.
494 of not cutting my hair until Man United win 5 games in a row. From a fan point of view, make no mistake, this has still been a really positive run. I really thought this was the time.
October 4th, 2024, the last time he cut his hair. That said, did that not sound like a robot or like an AI?
It sounds like a defeated...
I have not cut my hair since... It just sounded like...
Sounds like
that was not real,
man.
but it is real. It's on his he's got a huge following, by the way.
It sounds like a defeated man is what it sounds like.
Oh,
it's over.
Goodness. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And remember, everybody, the Sharp Plays is where it's at. The College Hoops Grind is where real bettors are finding their edge right now. Dozens of games a night, constant live movement, and opportunity for those who know where to look. You're not beating billion-dollar sportsbooks or full-time sharps on your own, but Sharp Plays, you don't have to. Powered by advanced AI, connected insider sources, the Sharp Plays highlights sharp action, key numbers, market shifts, all before the public catches up. Free daily reports, real-time alerts, public logs, and transparent results, all since 2011. SharpPlays.com, trusted by the pros, monitored by the books. Own the boards this college basketball season. Visit SharpPlays.com. Would you ever grow your hair out that long?
No, I mean, for, I guess, a cause, a purpose of some sort, maybe.
What's
it would
the
depend on
longest?
what the cause.
What's the longest these locks have gotten?
Oh, like to my shoulders when I was in high school.
Are you? No, you're not that curly. Because you grew out your hair relatively recently.
It's pretty wavy, I guess. Like it curls on the ends. Does that make sense?
Okay,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't do it for like a bet per se.
I mean, how much am I going to win?
Everything's
everything's on a spectrum.
I was going to say everyone has their price. So what would it take?
My price is pretty low. I mean, it's serious. I mean, it's money. It's like, what are we talking here? Does it grow my hair out?
Okay, you hear that music.
$5,000.
That means we got to take a timeout. When we come back, Major League Baseball season is on the horizon. Pitchers and catchers are reporting for spring training. We are going to kick off our previews going one by one, every MLB team in the league. Next, starting with everybody's favorite, the Washington Nationals. We'll be right back.